In a town where the Wi-Fi's strong and the coffee's hot, a trend was born where you'd least expect, a cat cafe spot. Not just any cats, but a choir of meows, singing pop hits with paws on keyboards, taking their bows. The tabby hit high notes, the Siamese crooned low, and the calico belted ballads with a Broadway glow. Viewers clicked, they laughed, they shared with a friend, and the algorithm whispered, "This trend won't end." Next door, a grandma strapped on a skateboard, kicked off her slippers, and the internet roared. She flipped, she spun, she landed with flair, her hashtag granny shreds was suddenly everywhere. Comments poured in. Goals, and queen of the park. Her grandkids filmed it all, igniting a spark. The algorithm noticed, gave her a boost, and her clips climbed higher, like rockets let loose. Down the street, a baker with flour in her hair made cakes that defied gravity, floating in air. Her secret? A hidden thread, a trick of the eye, but the comments debated. How? Why? She winked at the camera, some mysteries stay, and the views kept climbing, day after day. The algorithm hummed, "This is gold," as her cakes spun stories that never got old. In the park, a poet with a mic and a dream spoke verses so raw, they burst at the seams. Her words painted pictures of love, loss, and hope, and the crowd leaned in, unable to cope. Tears were shed, applause erupted like fire, her clips went viral, her reach climbed higher. The algorithm cheered, "This is art," as her poems connected, heart to heart. On a rooftop, a dancer with neon-lit shoes moved like the wind, with nothing to lose. Her choreography lit up the night, a kaleidoscope of colors, a pure delight. Viewers replayed, learned her moves, uploaded their takes, spreading the grooves. The algorithm danced, "This is the beat," as her steps became global, from street to street. In a lab, a scientist mixed potions with glee, creating slime that changed colors like the sea. Kids gathered round, their eyes wide with awe, as the slime shifted hues, defying natural law. "How does it work?" they asked in the chat. The scientist grinned, "It's science, and that's that." The algorithm glowed, "This is fun," as the slime trend spread, under the sun. At the beach, a dog surfed waves with a grin, his tail wagged hard, as the crowd closed in. "Cowabunga, pup!" The surfers all cheered, as the dog rode the tide, without any fear. His owner filmed, posted with pride, and the world fell in love with the surfing guide. The algorithm barked, "This is joy," as the pup's fame grew, like a shiny new toy. In a studio, a gamer with lightning-fast hands played through levels, breaking all demands. His commentary sharp, his jokes on point, viewers subscribed, they joined the joint. "Let's beat this boss," he'd shout with a grin, and the algorithm nodded, "This is a win." His streams climbed high, his community grew, as the pixels and laughter together flew. In a forest, a forager with a basket and knife found mushrooms, berries, the secrets of life. She shared her finds, her knowledge, her lore, and the world leaned in, hungry for more. "Is it safe?" they asked, as she cooked up a feast, her videos sizzled, views increased. The algorithm whispered, "This is pure," as her channel became a nature cure. In a garage, a band with mismatched shoes played tunes that made you laugh, cry, and groove. Their lyrics were quirky, their beats were tight, and their gigs went viral overnight. Encore! The comments screamed with delight as the band rocked on into the night. The algorithm jammed, "This is sound," as their music spread far and around. In a kitchen, a chef with a twirl of his spoon made dishes that felt like a trip to the moon. His flavors were bold, his plating divine, and his tips were simple, easy to align. "Try this at home," he'd say with a grin, and the views poured in, like a tidal spin. The algorithm savored, "This is taste," as his recipes traveled, no time to waste. In a library, a storyteller with a book in hand spun tales of dragons, pirates, and faraway lands. Her voice was a melody, her words a spell, and the kids sat quiet, under her shell. "What happens next?" they begged to know, as her channel grew, with a steady flow. The algorithm nodded, "This is lore," as her stories unlocked every door. In a gym, a trainer with muscles and might taught workouts that burned, but felt just right. Her energy was contagious, her form precise, and her followers grew, taking her advice. "You've got this," she'd cheer, with a fist in the air, and the algorithm flexed, this is fair. Her videos inspired, her community thrived, as her fitness journey kept dreams alive. In a garden, a gardener with dirt on her knees, grew flowers and veggies with effortless ease. Her tips were practical, her passion was clear, and her blooms brought joy, year after year. Plant with love, she'd say with a smile, and the algorithm bloomed, this is worthwhile. Her channel blossomed, her reach took root, as her green thumb became absolute. In a studio, an artist with a brush in hand, painted worlds that felt like a dreamland. Her strokes were bold, her colors alive, and her tutorials helped others thrive. Create with heart, she'd softly say, and the algorithm painted, this is the way. Her art spread wide, her influence grew, as her canvases inspired something new. In a city, a cyclist with a camera on his head, filmed his rides through traffic, nothing to dread. His routes were scenic, his commentary fun, and his clips showed the world how it's done. Ride safe, he'd remind with a wave, and the algorithm pedaled, this is brave. His channel rolled on, his followers grew, as his wheels kept spinning, his journey too. In a field, a farmer with a hat on his head, shared his life, from sunrise to bed. His crops were hardy, his animals sweet, and his stories made the world feel complete. Farm life's tough, he'd say with a grin, and the algorithm harvested, this is win. His channel grew roots, his community strong, as his tales of the land carried along. In a workshop, a carpenter with sawdust in his hair, built furniture so fine, it felt like a prayer. His craftsmanship shone, his designs were sleek, and his tutorials made the techniques unique. Measure twice, he'd joke with a wink, and the algorithm built, this is the link. His channel stood tall, his influence grew, as his creations inspired something new. In a lab, a coder with a screen full of light, wrote programs that worked through the night. His hacks were clever, his tutorials clear, and his passion for tech brought the world near. Debug with patience, he'd softly say, and the algorithm coded, this is the way. His channel compiled, his followers grew, as his scripts unlocked something new. In a kitchen, a baker with a whisk in hand, made desserts that felt like a wonderland. Her cakes were towering, her cookies divine, and her recipes made the world align. Bake with love, she'd say with a grin, and the algorithm baked, this is win. Her channel rose high, her influence sweet, as her treats became something hard to beat. In a studio, a podcaster with a mic and a dream, spoke words that flowed like a steady stream. Her topics were varied, her guests were bright, and her voice brought comfort through the night. Listen close, she'd say with a smile, and the algorithm tuned, this is worthwhile. Her channel grew loud, her reach took flight, as her stories connected, day and night. In a garage, a mechanic with grease on her hands, fixed cars with skill, and the world fanned. Her tips were practical, her passion was clear, and her tutorials made the complex near. Turn the wrench, she'd say with a grin, and the algorithm revved, this is win. Her channel drove far, her influence grew, as her repairs inspired something new. In a forest, a hiker with a pack on her back, explored trails with nothing to lack. Her views were stunning, her tips were smart, and her adventures inspired the heart. Hike with care, she'd softly say, and the algorithm trekked, this is the way. Her channel climbed high, her followers grew, as her journeys inspired something new. In a kitchen, a mixologist with a shaker in hand, made drinks that felt like a faraway land. His cocktails were dazzling, his recipes clear, and his flair brought the world near. Shake it up, he'd say with a grin, and the algorithm stirred, this is win. His channel poured high, his influence grew, as his drinks inspired something new. In a studio, a photographer with a lens in hand, captured moments that felt so grand. His shots were stunning, his tips were clear, and his passion brought the world near. Frame it right, he'd softly say, and the algorithm clicked, this is the way. His channel grew wide, his followers grew, as his photos inspired something new. In a lab, a biologist with a microscope in hand, explored cells that felt like a wonderland. Her findings were fascinating, her passion was clear, and her research brought the world near. Look closer, she'd say with a grin, and the algorithm zoomed, this is win. Her channel grew deep, her influence grew, as her discoveries inspired something new. In a garage, a tinkerer with tools in hand, built gadgets that felt like a wonderland. His inventions were clever, his tutorials clear, and his passion brought the world near. Tinker away, he'd say with a grin, and the algorithm built, this is win. His channel grew wide, his followers grew, as his creations inspired something new. In a kitchen, a chef with a knife in hand, chopped veggies with skill, and the world fanned. His dishes were hearty, his recipes clear, and his passion brought the world near. Chop with care, he'd softly say, and the algorithm cooked, this is the way. His channel grew hot, his influence grew, as his meals inspired something new. In a studio, a musician with a guitar in hand, strummed chords that felt like a wonderland. His melodies were soothing, his lyrics clear, and his passion brought the world near. Play with heart, he'd say with a grin, and the algorithm strummed, this is win. His channel grew loud, his followers grew, as his songs inspired something new. In a forest, a forager with a basket in hand, found treasures that felt like a wonderland. Her finds were fascinating, her tips were clear, and her passion brought the world near. Forage with care, she'd softly say, and the algorithm gathered, this is the way. Her channel grew wide, her followers grew, as her treasures inspired something new. In a kitchen, a baker with a whisk in hand, made treats that felt like a wonderland. Her desserts were dazzling, her recipes clear, and her passion brought the world near. Bake with love, she'd say with a grin, and the algorithm baked, this is win. Her channel rose high, her influence grew, as her treats inspired something new. In a studio, a painter with a brush in hand, created art that felt like a wonderland. Her strokes were bold, her colors clear, and her passion brought the world near. Paint with heart, she'd softly say, and the algorithm painted, this is the way. Her channel grew wide, her followers grew,